Thank you so much, John. I'm sure, as everyone knows, Excel can be used for more than just reviewing data, getting sums. Using Excel report layouts, you can take your data-driven analytics to the next level. So today we're going to teach you how to quickly create your own Excel report layouts within Business Central without any custom development. So there's no AL coding required for anything that we're going to be doing today. And we'll kind of talk about, how can you go and implement this at your own business, or how can we at DSWI assist you in order to create custom Excel report layouts. So if you need additional fields that aren't readily available, um, we can definitely help you with that. So today, my example is using the inventory order details report. This is a base report out of Business Central. It is numbers 708. And when you run the report currently, this is what it looks like. So it's an RDLC layout. You've got a breakdown by customer, the quantity that is outstanding. So even what's on back order, the amount that is outstanding as well. And today we are going to show you how to create an Excel report layout. So as you can see, it's presented visually. You are able to slice and dice any of the data, and all of this data will be updated every time you run the report. So a little bit about myself. My name is Tanya Bricko-Meski. I am a senior developer at DSWI. I've been here for about 2.5 years. I work remotely from central Wisconsin, as our headquarters are in Houston, Texas. I have been a nav/BC developer for about 7 years now, and I have a degree in IT database development. Why I mention that is I took a lot of courses. I have a really strong interest in reporting. I am one of the few developers who enjoys working on reports, and I can say that Excel reports layouts within Business Central have been really game changing in terms of the way that we can display data and get data out of Business Central into your hands and make it a lot more accessible. So some goals of Excel report layouts is to use built-in functionality within Business Central. So like I said, you don't have to have any customizations. You can use out-of-the-box base reports as your foundation for creating Excel report layouts. Obviously, you can customize it, so any custom fields that you've added or fields are not part of the data set, it's really easy for us to add those in for you. Uh, some other goals of using Excel report layouts are that they are simple and easy to use. There is no coding experience uh, required to create Excel report layouts. It's just being able to use Excel. We have strong data analytical capabilities, and it's a data-driven reporting experience to help you drive your business and financial decision making. So just to add a little humor, I'm sure most of us throughout our careers have put on our resume at one point or another that we're proficient or advanced in using Excel. Um, so now is kind of the time to prove to yourself that, yes, I do know Excel, or maybe you need to go up and brush up on your Excel skills. That's kind of where I've been is, okay, how do I use pivot charts and pivot tables? How do I do all these advanced formulas? So we'll show a little bit of creating some of these power tables and things like that, but that's going to be like the next stepping stone is going and using all of the Excel functionality. So why should you use Excel layouts within Business Central? They are interactive reports. These are not designed to be printed. It's designed to use all of the functionality that's within Excel. And we'll touch on a few different things that you can use. Um, but I mean, anything that you can use in Excel is available to you. Um, you have the ability to filter, sort, use slicers, pivot tables, charts, um, anything within Excel. We are able to also mix and match data from multiple data sources using Power Query. So if you have, another external database, you can use um, like the ODBC data connections to pull in that data and match it with your Business Central data. You are able to collaborate within the Office 365 suite. So what that means is, obviously Excel is part of Office 365, but you can leave comments, you can integrate with SharePoint. So there's just a lot of things that you can do with this integration, and it enables you as the end user to be involved in your layout creation. So as much as I like designing reports for you, this gives you the ability to go and design some reports. Um, we are more than happy to collaborate and come up with some really cool Excel report layouts for you. And just as a side note, this was introduced in version 2022 Wave 1 or BC20. So if you are still in Nav, unfortunately, these Excel report layouts are not available to you, but it's something to look forward to when you do upgrade to Business Central. When you are creating an Excel report layout, we can do it in 4 easy steps. So this is what we're going to cover today. You are going to get an Excel workbook with the data contract from Business Central. You will lay out the data as you wish using the Excel features. You'll import it back into Business Central and then test your layout. So today I will kind of go through an overview with some screenshots, and then I will do a demo with the inventory order details report showing you exactly how to build an Excel report layout and how it all functions within Business Central. And then at the end, we can get to any questions. So the first thing that you will do inside of Business Central is you'll need to get a blank template. So you can, from the search for whatever report you want to use as the base. So you can see I'm using inventory order details, and you're just going to go and run the report. When you do that, instead of saying print or preview and close, you're going to click send to and click Microsoft Excel document data only. Um, this will then create the data contract. So this is then the Excel document that you're opening up. You have the report metadata tab and the data tab. So this data tab is what links your data back to Business Central. So anytime you run a report, this data tab gets updated with the data from Business Central. So when you are creating an Excel report layout, I would just strongly suggest not even touching the data tab. Um, because this is, again, the way that Excel and Business Central will talk to each other. So especially this first row, this is how Business Central knows where to put this data. So if you come in here and you change some of these, so I know it's pretty ugly in terms of the captions that are being used. Um, number NO underscore item is the item number. Um, don't change this to item number because Business Central won't be able to find where to put your data. So anytime you want to modify the captions, do this on another tab where you are laying out your data. You don't want to touch like this data tab. I have heard that, and I know that you can like delete columns out of here, but honestly, I don't see a reason to do that because This is just a data dump. So it's all of your dirty data at this point, think of. So I would just advise not touching it. Um, so the other thing is this is a table within Excel. So this table name has to be data in order for Business Central to find your data. So again, don't change that. You must have at least one column within the data tab, which, if you're using a, a base report from Business Central, it's going to have many columns. Um, so they just said that you have to have at least one column in here, and it can only include columns that are in the report data set. So like I said, if you wanted to come in here and insert a new column, it would essentially break the contract between Business Central because it wouldn't know how to link that together. And all of your data must start in the A1 cell of the data sheet. So once you have your data, the data contract in Excel, it is now time to leverage all of the Excel features. So this is when you will design the report layout using pivot tables, pivot charts, and slice and dice your data. And you would build it off based off the data sheet as your data source and build the report layout in another tab. So just brainstorming some different ideas of what can you use in Excel besides, pivot tables, pivot charts. Um, you can group, ungroup data, you can create subtotals, you can do data transformations, you can use what if analysis or forecast sheets, you can do KPIs, you can do measures. Um, you could, you know, anything you can think of to manipulate your data for further analysis and create those rich data models. So, like I kind of mentioned before, you are able to comment on data as well. So, this might be where you reference that data sheet where you could come in and say, okay, why hasn't this customer bought anything, or just another way to collaborate with your team. You can use all of these features that are built in within the Office 365 suite. So once you build your Excel report layout, which I will demo to you the powered or the pivot tables and charts in a little bit, but once you have a layout built, you would import the layout into Business Central. So you would go to the report ID that is in Business Central and click New Layout either in the ribbon or in the line menu. And when you click that, you will add a new layout for the report. So you just have to give it a name and a description and make sure that you are setting the format option to Excel. And then you have the ability to make it available in all companies. So during the upload, what happens is all of the data is removed from the data worksheet. And when it's run, the data sheet is populated with new data. Um, Forceful calculation and full calculation on load are set to true when updating all of the pivot tables and graph references. I have or I actually discovered that there is still an issue with Power Queries where um, when it loads, you have to manually refresh the data for the Power Query. They haven't quite figured out how to get that to load automatically when you open Excel. Um, so just another caveat is if you're using a Power Query to do some really advanced stuff, you just have to refresh the table when you open Excel. So once it's been imported into Business Central as a layout, you can see the line with the arrow is the base report layout. It's an RDLC, and you can see that it was built by an extension from Microsoft. Uh, this line in the orange box is our custom report layout, Excel layout. You can see over here the type is Excel. Um, this is within the report layouts. You can see all of the different layouts that are available for each report. So you will then want to test the layout. So testing that new layout, um, you would run it, and you can see for an Excel layout, there is no print or preview. You have the option to download. So when you are running the report, you wouldn't send to Excel, you would download it and it would populate all of your Excel report layout features. Um, if your organization has configured OneDrive or system features, the Excel workbook is downloaded to your OneDrive and opened within your browser. If that's not enabled, the workbook would be downloaded to your computer. So just a note on how to set up OneDrive. If you are interested, an administrator would need to search for the OneDrive setup within Business Central, and there is a wizard available to configure it. And you would just want to make sure that both of the Booleans are set to true, and this would then open your Excel workbooks within your browser as opposed to downloading it. Some other OneDrive caveats is that you need to make sure that you disable pop-ups. Otherwise, you'll get a message from Business Central saying that your pop-ups may be blocking it. You will want to also review external sharing settings for users within SharePoint. And one other thing is like a lot of the advanced features of Excel are not available in the web version, so you would need to download that Excel workbook to your computer if you want to leverage some of those advanced tools. Like I know Power Query is not available in the web, so you have to download it and make those changes locally. So now I will demo how all of this works. So within Business Central, we are going to go to Report Layouts. And you can search for the report that you want to use. So we've got the inventory order details report. You can see this is an RDLC report. So what I will do is run the report. And if you wanted to set filters here, you could. I would just run it wide open and then do the filtering through Excel. So I would send to the Excel document data only. So it takes a minute to generate it, and you can see in the downloads, I now have this inventory order details. So I'm going to open this up and enable editing. So you can see here, this is all of the data being dumped from Business Central. Um, a lot of these columns are, it's a base Microsoft Business Central report layout. So there's going to be these captions that are used when you're running like the RDLC report layout. You can, if you wanted, hide them. That's not a big deal. But like I said, I would just not touch this, just kind of look at it, make sure it dumped the data that you were looking for. This report metadata tab just gives you some information about when the report was generated, what filters were being used. So you can see that some filters were set. It also gives you some information about which version of like Business Central it was from. So you can see I'm on 22.2, and this report is a base one from Microsoft. So if we what we could do is create a custom report for you. So it would have, your company name with DSWI on it for your app that's being used. So um, it kind of just gives you an idea of which the data set is being pulled from. If you wanted to use like a base sales order report and add some of your custom fields, or maybe there are some fields that are not part of the data set um, that are part of Base Business Central, we can add those as a report extension, and those fields would then be available to you in the data tab as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to then insert a pivot chart and pivot table. So it pops up this window, and I'm going to use the data table, and I want to put this in a new worksheet. So as you can see, it created a new sheet over here. So I can rename this as layout if I want, anything that you want. Um, so then I'm going to start building my report layout. So let's see if I select the item number, and I can do, or actually I'll do the sales header bill to name first. So this would be the customer name. So what you can do here is, uh, oh, it's down here. So you can see in the categories, I'm going to just click field settings and rename this to customer name just so it looks a little bit nicer. And then I'm going to add the outstanding amount for the sales line. So you can see here it summed up the outstanding sales amount by customer. So again, I'm just going to go and rename this here. And you could drag this and move this up. I want to change this to be a pie chart. So now I want to see, I can insert another pivot chart, or yeah. And I'm going to use the data tab again, and I can put it on the same worksheet. Um, so here I can use the item number, and I'm going to use the outstanding quantity from the sales line. So then what I'm going to do is insert a slicer, and I'm going to use the item number, and let's see, I want the customer name. I always have a problem trying to find it in here. Well, we'll just use the item number for now. So when you go to the slicer settings, or wait, sorry, the report connections, you can select both pivot tables. So if I now filter for these items, it will slice all of the the pivot charts and pivot tables that are on this page. So this is part of, the Excel features. So, um, this isn't Business Central specific. This is all built into Excel. So, at this point, what I will do is I'm going to save this. And another thing that you could even do is create, another tab that's, an about me, about the report. So how does this work? Just kind of giving an overview as to the functionality. Um, how do you filter things? Um, you know, especially if you're doing some advanced, you know, stuff like filtering or slicing or Power Query stuff. So when somebody runs the report and maybe they haven't seen this before, it would kind of just tell them what capabilities they have with a report layout. So I saved it. I'm going to close out. So now I am going to import the layout. So I'm going to click New Layout. So as you can see, it populated 708 because that's the report I'm on. Or you could change it if you needed to. So I'm going to say standing uh, order details. And you can see that it's set to Excel and I want it available in all companies. So I'll click OK. So I will import this layout back in. So then I want to test this. So again, when you run it, you'll click download. And now here, when you open it, you can see here is that Excel report layout that we created. And that took us, you know, all of 10 minutes probably to create this. So obviously this is a very simple example. Um, but as you can see, it's pretty easy to work with. I did also want to show, um, let's see, another example of an Excel report layout that we have built. If it will open, here we go. So this is for your physical inventory list, and this is based off of report 722. When I can show that actually. So this is the physical inventory list. So if you were doing a physical inventory count, we can essentially dump all of the data into Excel from the physical inventory journal. And as you can see in the Excel report layout, we have enabled it to use bin numbers and lot numbers. So you can see we have the lot numbers and the quantity by lot. So this quantity would be the total quantity for the specific item. So you could see the waffle cone, we have 150 total, but we have 100 in one location and 50 in another. So if you were doing your physical inventory count, we could filter it by location. We could filter it by, lot numbers. And so when you're doing your physical inventory count, you could put all of this into an Excel spreadsheet, calculate all of this rather than having to print it out and manually write it down and type it back in. And then we've also written some custom code on the back end to be able to allow you to import this back in and post it. So that's something that we've done just to make things a lot easier to work with Excel and Business Central. Um, so in summary, don't go and change the name of the data sheet, the data table, or the columns. Instead, rename those fields in the pivot table just to alleviate any headaches or issues when you are working with your Excel report layouts. Don't add any columns unless they are included in the report data set. So let's say you create an Excel report layout and you had us add some custom fields instead of having to recreate the entire Excel report layout. You could we could tell you where that field needs to go, which it would typically just be on the end. Um, and otherwise, don't go add any columns within your data sheet. And you can place those sheets within any order. So it's not like the data tab has to be first or the report metadata tab has to be last. Um, you could even, I think you can hide those when you run it, but um, so those any of your sheets that you add can be in any order. So at this point, are there any questions?
I'm gonna open it up the mic for everyone. So if you have questions, feel free to unmute yourself and ask away. Or if you're more comfortable, you can type it into the comments or to the Q&A section, and I can ask Tanya.
Really great demo. Thank you very much.
You're most welcome.
Thank
Thank
you,
you
Andrew. I
for
was kind of worried
attending.
that maybe I didn't unmute everyone. Well, if no one has any questions, we can go ahead and end the webinar. Like I said, give me a few days and I can post this on our YouTube channel. And if you have any questions, afterwards, after viewing it a second time, feel free to reach out and I can work with Tanya to get anything answered. Great job, Tanya, and thank you.
You're most welcome. Have fun.